I'm Lisa from Quite Nice Quilling. I'm going to be making a card similar to this today. It's a 6-prong flowers. This one's in purple. This one is in red. And today we're going to do one in the different yellows. There's a pale yellow, deep yellow, and regular yellow. So please join me as we go along, and I'll show you some couple tips along the way. Okay, so as I stated, this is the type of card we're going to be making. These are 6-point petals, and we're going to be doing that today. I'm going to be doing it in a different color. That was purple. I have a red one that I had done, and we're going to be working on the yellow version. So what I use Quill Creations paper. This is 1/8 inch paper. This one is yellow, so I use 3 different yellows. That's regular yellow, pale yellow, and deep yellow. I don't know if you can see that. So those are the ones. So these are 1/8 inch wide and 17 inches long. So I take 6 of them because I have a 6-point flower. So I have 6 pieces. For the 1/8 inch paper, I like the Quill Creations template. This other blue template that I had bought is a little deeper, so for the 1/8 inch paper, I don't like it. It's very hard to get out, so I don't use it for the smaller thin 1/8 inch. So here's what we do. We take the quilling tool, which has a little slot in it, and what I do is I put this in the very end here, and I put it almost to the very end, and I put my finger at the end and I twirl outward. You can do inward, it doesn't matter. This is the way I like to do it. You find what's most comfortable for you. And we go like this, and then when it's done, I like to squish it together and then put it in, hold it down, and then let it open slightly. So we'll do that 6 times. Also, what you need to do with the paper is when you touch the sides, you'll notice a cut side and a smoother side. You want to curl it so the rough side or the cut side is inside. So again, we go to the edge and we twirl. This takes a little bit getting used to and finding the best way for you to do it. This is the best way I found to do it, but everyone is slightly different. So that's what I just twisted here. I found this side is much rougher than this side. And this is petal number 3. Again, always find the rough side. Petal number 4. Now every packet can be different, so even though it was in the packet like this, and the rough side is actually on the outside, but it could be opposite on the next package, so you never know. You have to feel each time. So that was number 4. This is number 5. Number 6. And then you don't need very heavy pressure on this because we're letting them uncurl in this frame here, so you don't need to squeeze it very tight. Okay, so we did all of them. So I like to use this needle bottle. I've tried a bunch of different ones over time. This cap is like stretchy, and I found the hard ones constantly broke. I have a few of them, and then I always seem to lose the top. So I like this one that has it's very stretchy, so I do it that way. So what I do is I take my finger, I can run it on the edge and hold it, and then I pick it up and I pull this back a little bit. You squeeze just a little bit, and then I use the edge to add a little bit on. I keep it on the side sometimes, and I'll put it together. Now to make the petal, what I do is you take each side and you squeeze like that, and you get a nice cute little petal. So we will do that 6 times. So that's 1. And you don't need a lot of glue. You actually don't want a lot of glue. What I use Elmer's glue, and I put it in this little bottle. You have to find what's best for you to use. Everyone is slightly different. Sometimes you find it right away, and sometimes it takes a little longer. And sometimes you're like, oh, that looks cool, and then you're like, oh, I don't like that. But that's okay. And here's the last one. Oop, you saw that? It just rolled off. Have to be careful. Little blooper for you. Okay, so we have our 6 petals, so we don't need this anymore. So I have created my own little template for doing this. I found this nice paper. It's in a circle with marks on it, and so I also bought this foam corkboard, and then I just highlighted the 6-point star kind of area, and that's what I use. I also use these nice pins with the nice big head on them. If you can see that, that's a yellow head. They come in all different colors. So for the first one, I don't glue anything down. I just take one and I put one here and one here. And then for consistency, I like to find, I don't know if you can see where I have the edge of the paper there. So I always put the glue on that edge, or I try to at least. And then we're going to put the next one. And I pin at each location to make sure. And I pull out just slightly as we do this. So each one, see, this one came a little bit better up toward the top here. But that's okay. Remember, everything is handmade, so they're not going to be perfect. I know we try to get it that way, but it doesn't always work. Again, here's a little spot. Number 5, see, I look around to see where it is. It's not always easily found. Here's number 5. And so the last one, oh, you see what I did here? I didn't do it quite perfectly. See, there's a little, it's off the edge a little bit. So what you can do is take your scissor and just give it a little snip. So for the last one, we're going to use both sides. Okay. And also, I forgot to say before, is that I put so it's the cork board. It's a 9x9 piece of cork. I put this paper and then I put a plastic over top. You can use saran wrap. I happen to like the clear bags. I found 9x9 clear bags online, and I like those because I can flip them, they stay in place, I don't have to tape them, that kind of thing. So this is all ready. So you see each point is in the right spot. This is a 6 point. I have made an 8 point, a 5 point, so different variations you can do. From here you also could add maybe a 10 point and do another one inside of each of these. I've done that too when I make snowflakes. Okay, so that is how we make a little flower. So the next part, we're going to let that dry a little bit and I'm going to continue on. Here are some other ones that I have made previously. I don't know if you can see that well. Let me do this because they're yellow. Put them on this white piece. That's probably a little better. Okay, so this one is a whole one I made before. And so this one I had started. What I do is I take a piece of white and I fold it in half. I like to snip off the end and then cut it in half. I find it easier if I just use whole, half, quarter pieces, and just makes my life a little easier and I can remember what I did instead of how many inches for this, how many inches for that. So we just twirl this like we started the ones before. This one we twirl a little bit tighter. Now we're going to glue before we put any, we don't put it in a mold. We're going to glue it right here. I glue everything very lightly. And you're going to turn, hold a second, and then you're going to wiggle it off. So one thing to do is, if you can see the difference between the one I did before and this one I did now, the best thing I found to do is to take your roller and just push down on it and it flattens it out nicely. So we're going to take some glue now because we have to have a center of our flower, and we're just going to put it right in the center. Alright, so that's how we do that portion. Now we're going to, since I let the other one dry for a little bit, we're going to bring it back. So it's dry enough that I can take it off. I usually hold my finger down while I pull the pins out, just in case. You never know. I have pulled out and I left it a little too long sometimes and it pulled right out and I had to redo the whole thing. Another thing I like to do sometimes is it gets stuck down there. If you take your pin, you can just wiggle it a little bit. Well, this one isn't dry quite a bit. That's all right. Alright, so then we glue this, the center. That'll help everything stay together. Okay, so as you can see in the ones I did previously, we have these nice little leafy things, and we're going to make those now. So I have a piece, I'm going to get I picked sage green this time from Quill Creations. We're going to pick one piece. You only need one. I've found over a few years that I like keeping them in the packaging that it comes in. I put a little slit in the top and I can pull it out or put it in if needed. When I had thrown away the packaging, I ended up with this jumbled mess. It was not fun to find what you were looking for. Okay, so I just like to snip that a little bit off. We're going to cut this in half, and we're going to cut it in half again. Like I said, I like to do halves, quarters. Okay, so we're going to get, here's the card, right? Okay, and then we can pick, do we want a square base? This one's a little bigger, maybe. We want a rounded base? Maybe we'll do a rounded base. Okay. So we can do that. Just gives it a little bit of dimension. I have a machine that I use to cut out these pieces. I'm just trying to see that all the holes are open. There we go. So we're going to glue this down. You can use the Elmer's glue. Another thing I've used is the score tape. This is the score tape. This is good for keeping everything in place. And here's one that I have open. So this one is, it's double-sided tape. What you do is you just put it down. I'm going to put it in a couple spots. And it's nice because it just rips off. I would try not to get over the holes, because that would probably look a little weird. That one came close. Let's put a little bit more and make sure this stays put. Okay, so the difference between this card had a cutout that I had pre-bought these bases, and this one I'm doing today is I cut out the card base and I added a top piece to it. So then we just take these pieces off. It's pretty easy. You can get your nail on there a little bit. It usually works pretty well. Sometimes it's easier than others. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the lines I put in. See if you can probably see that. Okay, so now we want to get this in about the middle. So that's not going to go anywhere. Okay. So we can just position these as we like. This one's probably still a little wet. And you can play with the position a little bit. Now you can play with, make sure that the edges nice and clean. Sometimes you curl them and use your fingernail. You don't want a lot of curl, maybe just a little bit. So if we want to start with the, I like to start with the highest one. And if I need to cut it, I can do that. This probably needs to be cut off a little bit. Now what's good, we can do this, is we can go off a little bit if we want. We don't have to be exactly on. And this is on edge, so that's not too bad, right? That's not a bad one. Okay. So that placement doesn't look too bad. I like to angle these so I know as they all come in, we can make them look nice. Alright, so you know what, let's glue this one down to start. You don't need a lot of glue. I put a little bit in the middle. I just put like a dab at the edge of each petal. You just push it in a little bit. That should be good. Okay, so here's an interesting little tidbit. I'm looking for a piece of plastic. There's a little bag, plastic bag I have. You can see it, the little plastic bag. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the glue on here. Okay, and I'm going to take a pair of tweezers. They have nice needle point tips. So I'm going to pick this up, the flower stem, and I'm going to dip it carefully, its edge, into the glue. That way you don't get too much glue. You probably can't even see, but there is glue on there. And then we're going to put this in here. And just put it down carefully. Okay? And there, we got that first one done. So I like to do all the stems first, and then I'll show you the pointed leaves in a few minutes. So the next one, let's do this one up here, this very pale pink, yellow. So let's see. So this one, which way does it want to go? Maybe it wants to go this way. I think it wants to go this way. So we can do that. That's how we measure it. Go like that. Okay, that's in there. So now we can take this and glue this one down. You just push it in a little bit, make sure it stays. So now we're going to take this piece again. We're going to dip it in our glue. With a very thin coat of glue on there. Sometimes you gotta just wiggle it a little bit. Okay, that's the next one. Finally, we have this petal over here for the stem, and this one's a short stem, so maybe we want to bring this up a little bit. trying to get them all to meet at that same point. So, okay. Take this one off. Glue this one down. And like I said, you don't need a lot of glue. Sometimes I add a little more in the center if I feel like it. And then get it in its spot. If you get a little glue like that, try to get it quickly off with your nail. You usually won't see it. Sometimes if I put a little too much glue, you just use your nail. Okay, for the last one, stem, we're gonna dip it in the glue again. I don't know if you can see, it's very hard to see. Okay. All right, so that's that part. Next, we're going to make the little wispy pieces. So I take some of the extra that we had, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, I'm going to start at the center. I'm going to make a very long point. Clear away the excess. So if you can see how that's nice and pointy now, so we can decide where we want to put that. So again, I'm using my fingernail. I'm kind of making it a nice curved shape. I'm thinking maybe right there. Again with the tweezers. And on the edge, I can put it right there. Okay, so I made a couple extra of those already. So usually I like to have one that comes up a little higher here. Let's see how it's going to look. Oh, that looks pretty good right there. Okay. Dip it in the edge. That fell right into the right place I wanted it to. Okay. Maybe a slightly longer one up here. See, they're never always going to be in the exact place every time. You know, everything handmade, as most of you know, everything is tweaked just a little bit. It's going to move around. I think we need a little one over here. Oh, it's a good size. Curl that bottom a little bit, look a little bent. Dip it in again. Like I said, we don't need a lot. The on edge portion. Maybe a little small one over there. So this one's a little too big. Let's cut this down a little bit. And here's the next one in. So there we have it. That's our quilled card. please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to see more of what I've made, please see my Etsy shop at Quite Nice Quilling, all one word, and I'll see you soon.